Today I will go over how to stretch your hip for hip pain. There are several directions of hip movements and there are stretches that correspond to each one. There's hip flexion, hip extension, hip abduction, hip external rotation, and hip internal rotation. There's also hip adduction, but most people don't really need to work on hip adduction. My favorite hip flexion exercise is single knee to chest stretch. Lie down on your back and use your arms and use your hands to pull one of your knees toward your chest. You should feel a stretch in your glute and even parts of your lower back. If you feel a pinching sensation in the front of the hip, you could rotate your hip out slightly and see if that feels better. If you want to target your glutes more with this stretch, you could try bringing the knee toward your opposite shoulder. To stretch into hip extension, the simplest way to do this is to start in the standing position. Slide one of your feet back until you feel a gentle stretch in the front of your hip. You could hold onto a wall or a piece of furniture for balance. To stretch into hip abduction, I like to go into a position similar to a lateral lunge. You could hold onto a chair or a table to make it easier. For this stretch, we're looking for a gentle stretch in the groin and in the inner thigh. To stretch into hip external rotation, the most common stretch is the butterfly stretch. Sit on the floor with your knees bent and put the bottom of your feet together. Try to get your feet as close to you as possible. You can use your hands to pull your ankles toward you. I like to hold on to my ankles with my hands during this stretch. While holding on to the ankles, you could push your knees down toward the floor with your elbows. You should feel a stretch in your groin. Please note that if you have strained your hip flexor muscles, this stretch will delay the healing of those muscles. Another stretch for hip external rotation that I like very much is the Piriformis Stretch. The most common way to do this stretch is to put your legs in a figure 4 position. It is the easiest to do this when lying down on your back. You can also do this while sitting. Simply put one of your ankles over the other knee and then pull the knee with the ankle on top toward your chest. An easier version of the Piriformis Stretch is Piriformis Stretch while seated on a bench. You can do this on a couch or on your bed. You put one of your legs on top of the bench or the couch and make sure the knee is flexed. And then you lean with your chest toward your knee until you feel a stretch in your hip. To stretch into hip internal rotation, I like to start by sitting on the floor with my hips and knees flexed in front of me. Keep your feet flat on the floor. Rotate both hips to the same side to make both knees as close to the floor as possible. Rotate the hips to the opposite side and repeat. With all these stretches, try to avoid fast and forceful movements and avoid sharp pains. Be careful because it is possible to overstretch your muscles, ligaments, and cartilage of the hip if you go too fast or stretch too forcefully. If you feel like these exercises have helped you in any way, please also check out my video on how to massage the hip for hip pain. I'll put the link in the description as well as pin it in the comment below.